Okay, this is Bill Carter from Vinyl Productions. Tonight we're at the House of Blues with Geoff Downes and Asia.
Howdy.
Geoff, very nice to meet you. Looks like it's going to be a good show tonight.
Yeah, I thought it should be very good.
Are we going to expect anything out of the ordinary tonight as far as what the Asia shows have been?
Well, we've changed it around a lot from say last time we came out. We've obviously got a new album that we've been working on for the last year or so, but it's been released for about 3 months. So we've actually been playing that live. And we've dropped we were doing the heritage tracks, so we did like Video Killed the Radio Star and Fanfare for the Common Man, which were nods in the direction of each of the individual members. But we've kind of made it now very much a very Asia show. You know, we've had 2 albums in the last 3 years that we can draw from, you know, as well as the early albums. So it's very much an Asia show now.
Yeah. So you won't be doing any of your solo material? Is that what you're saying? Like we won't hear Video Killed the Radio Star tonight?
No, I think that we did that. You know, this is, when you think about it, this is probably the 4th year. Well, it's nearly 5 years we've been back together again. So I think it was time for us to try something different and to to show the fans that we can do other things as well.
That's cool. What's interesting is that Asia, you're one of the founding members for sure. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
Now
we're all founding members, and we've got all the 4 original members now. So.
But you're the one who kind of carried the ship all the way through the late 80s and 90s.
Well, yeah, there are various versions of the band existed during that period of time, and I think that the real secret was when we did come back together again. I think people felt that, you know, a lot of people felt that's what they wanted to see, and so you know, we've been back together now, as I said, for 4 or 5 years, and it feels good. You know, it feels better than it did first time out.
Wow, excellent. Now, we spoke briefly about an Unreal tour schedule that you guys have been working on, and you said you actually really like that.
Yeah, I think everybody likes working. You know, we're enjoying it a lot more than I think than people might imagine. I think that you know, none of us are young guys anymore, and you know, some of the schedules are quite grueling. You know, you're talking about you know, a different city every night. It's a lot of travelling, but you know, I think that the key to it is that we do enjoy making the music, and we enjoy taking it out live. So it seems to be working well for us.
No, and the fans love it too. So
and the fans love it. You know, I think that's you know, Asia's music is sort of, you know, had its moment in American psyche, you know, in the early 80s, and I think that a lot of people remember it as a very significant part of their lives, and so they relate to, you know, the music today still.
Do you remember your first bands? You have to remember the first bands that you joined, and I guess you were playing keyboards then as well, right?
Yeah, I was, you know, I had a band at school. I had my first Hammond organ when I was 16, you know, and yeah, I mean, it was something that I always wanted to do, you know, and I've been fortunate enough that I've always managed to make a living out of doing something that I love doing. But we used to play all kinds of different types of music, you know. I played in bands that did covers of Tamla Motown songs, and you know, the divisions of music weren't so noticeably, the demographics weren't so detached as they are now, you know. Nowadays everything is specifically pigeonholed into a certain thing. Then there was a lot of cross breeding in music, you know. There was sort of, it was not unusual to see you know, the band on with Emerson, Lake and Palmer, you know, whereas, you know, you wouldn't necessarily get that now. There was a lot of or Marvin Gaye, you know, you see people that you wouldn't think now would actually be in the same marketplace, but there was, that's what I think made a lot of music exciting at that time when I was certainly growing up, was that, you know, you had so many different types of things all happening together.
Now here's the real question we want to know, is you for a brief time you were kind of a member of Wizard, right?
Very, very briefly. Yeah, I actually only really rehearsed with them. I didn't do any gigs with them. I rehearsed with them a couple of times.
Right. How did that come about? Did you run into Roy, or did?
I think I was recommended by someone who was working with the band. So, and I can't even remember how it came about, but I remember going and rehearsing up at Roy's place for a couple of days. But it didn't really. There wasn't really any.
No chemistry.
No, and I think that then the band was called Wizzo. It wasn't called Wizard.
Okay, Wizzo was after Wizard.
Yeah.
So it was after that.
So it was after that, and it didn't really translate into anything long term, I don't think.
No. I'm thinking, this is a guess, but that's probably where you met Hugh McDowell.
No, actually, I met Hugh McDowell much later. Purely because I live in the same part of the world as him, and I was introduced to him by a mutual friend who I knew in part of South Wales where I live, and I introduced me to Hugh, and Hugh just lives a couple of miles from where I live, so I got to know him that way. So it was much later, but yeah, it was Hugh's a fantastic musician, great cellist, great inspiration.
Yeah. Did you follow Hugh when he was in ELO, or did you know Roy when he formed ELO? Were you familiar with all that stuff that was going on at the time?
Well, I was only familiar because I was at music college with Lewis Clark, who was doing the arrangements for ELO. So I got to know Lewis very well at music college, and he used to tell me, he said, I've got to drive down to Birmingham because Geoff Lynne wants these parts done for string arrangements. So Lewis was doing the string arrangements whilst he was at college. He was studying arranging and I was studying the keyboard.
Lou should be here tonight because he doesn't live that far away.
I know. I hope he is, because he's been, I think the last time we played he came down. So he's a Cleveland boy.
Yeah, you should have brought him some beans or something, because he likes those beans from Marks and Spencer's.
Oh, does he? Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I should have done that. Yeah.
There you go. Who hooked Lou up with was it the Astra album?
Yeah, it was me actually,
that
because we were looking for someone to do an arrangement for the song Rock and Roll Dream, and I immediately thought of Lou, and I asked him, and I went round to, he was living in Muswell Hill in London at that time, and we went through it, and he did the whole arrangement for it, and with the Royal Symphony Orchestra, and it was great. Yeah, it was a fantastic thing to watch.
I'm thinking that there's probably more songs out there that he's worked on that hasn't been released.
Yeah, I would imagine so, and certainly, Lou's a fantastic arranger. Even when I was at college with him, and that's going back, at least 35 years. It was pretty obvious that he had a real skill for it then, more so than a normal person.
Last year, From Vinyl was fortunate enough, or I was fortunate enough, to actually reintroduce Lou to Alan Parsons. They were at the same show, and they hadn't seen each other for, 20 odd years or something.
Okay.
But Lou's a great friend of the show.
Oh, good. I hope he's here tonight.
Now, Hugh McDowell, that relationship has gone on quite a bit because he's worked with your Icon project.
Yeah, he's done all 3 albums with Icon. He's done some stuff on John Wetton's solo album. So I kind of rode him in really to do it. And John is very, he's a big admirer of Hugh's playing. We always get him in, and he always seems to. I do some synthetic string parts, but when you get the real cello in there, it really does embellish the sound of it a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of what Lou does now. Actually, is all with the keys, all the symphonic sounds that he works on. Now, I'm going to name some artists, and I'm just wondering how you, from a professional artistic standpoint, just how you feel about them. Now, we mentioned Alan Parsons. Are you a Alan Parsons fan?
I was always a big fan of Alan Parsons. We did a gig with him not that long ago, and probably about 3 years ago now. But his stuff always, you don't realise how many successful songs he's had, and how popular they are.
he actually engineered the Roy Wood Boulders album, which makes everything come full circle.
Oh, right, okay.
So he's a great guy. How about a band like the Tubes? Are you familiar with the Tubes?
Not so much my bag. I mean, I was more interested in the British side of things. I actually did go and see them live a long time ago at Hammersmith Odeon, as it was then. And that's when they had the big cigarette on the stage.
Yeah.
Stub It Out or whatever it was. Very entertaining band. I mean, no doubt
it's a
about
theatrical show.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Asia is very much like precision music.
Our theatre really is the musicians. I think that is what people want to come and see. That we don't have any flying pigs or anything like that. Not saying that.
Okay, well, let's wrap it up and go then. No pigs, no. No pigs tonight.
No flying pigs. But I think that it's, people come to see us play, and I think that Asia was always based on musicianship. It's a very, very, very musical band, and I think that that's really our theatre.
Good. No, and I agree. A little more of an obscure artist. Yes or no? Are you familiar with Nash the Slash?
Nash the Slash, I'm familiar with, but I wouldn't like to say that I know a lot of his music. Put it that way, yeah.
Because he's he does everything himself.
Yeah.
And he's one man show, I guess.
Yeah.
So he's a fan of the show as well, and he's also done interview.
Okay.
And we did a video for him as well.
Oh, right. Okay.
He's a very nice guy.
Yeah.
And one other gentleman I thought you probably should know, or I'm surprised you didn't work with, Richard Tandy of VLO, because he's a big keyboard guru.
I never actually got to work with him. I did actually go and see ELO Part 2 a long time. Well, when they're out there, and Lou was with them then, and
Lou's still with it. Well, they're called the orchestra now.
Yeah, the orchestra now. Yeah. And of course they were then with Kelly, who died, didn't he? Kelly Booker, and Mick Kaminsky.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean it's a fantastic tale, ELO.
It's good. But no, you never got to work with Richard, or never.
No, I never got to work with Richard. No.
Do you like Geoff Lynne's work? I guess we'll finish it with.
Yeah,
with that.
I mean, I think that that stuff, the production was really amazing. Considering that most of it was him. I mean, all the ideas of the double tracking the drums and all that kind of thing was all, and the using vocoders and all that kind of thing. It's quite sort of, I suppose, influential. There was a certain influence to me there. Having orchestral stuff going on behind the, behind the pop song was, was pretty. I definitely say that it did have some influence on me. Yeah.
And I think that's how the fans see it as well, because they see this intermingling of this. The musical styles can relate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
I guess that's about it. Unless there's anything you want to wrap up, we can edit this part out. But
no, just that just let people know we've got a new album out, Omega, and we look forward to carrying on.